Thank you, Provost Lankilde. And now I'd like to introduce today's commencement speaker, Brett King. Brett King is a producer, creative executive, and cultural influencer who has worked with both creators and corporate partners to bring stories to the screen that are commercially viable, culturally specific, and globally relatable. Brett is a media veteran with oversight of literally hundreds of hours of television under his belt. He has held senior creative executive roles at Sony Pictures Entertainment, BET, the WB, Paramount Television Studios, and 20th Century Fox Television after moving to Los Angeles to join Quincy Jones Entertainment. Brett's creative passion was forged in New York's downtown art scene, and from that creative foundation, he went on to produce music videos, commercials, and unscripted content, culminating in multiple seasons on Saturday Night Live as producer of the commercial parodies, all while DJing in some of the city's sizzling downtown clubs. Brett earned his bachelor's degree in speech communications with a minor in African American studies from Penn State in 1981. He's a proud father of two. Brett, we welcome you to Penn State, or back to Penn State, and to the podium.
Hello, graduates. I am both humbled and honored to have been asked to speak to all of you on this very special day, and I join the faculty, the families, the friends, and alumni gathered here in offering my congratulations to each of you. Thank you, Dean Lang, for this honor, and to Lydell Sargent, Ellen Conkle, and the rest of the Penn State College of Liberal Arts team, and a special thanks to Isabella, who let me jump in on a game of Frisbee earlier this morning on Old Main Lawn. You have all made my time here nothing less than an absolute pleasure. So, as mentioned, I'm a producer, a creative consultant, and a longtime media executive. I'm also a single dad with two annoyingly grown daughters, a photographer, an occasional DJ, and for the foreseeable future, a full-time activist. Most importantly, on today of all days, I am a proud graduate of the Pennsylvania State University class of 1981. We are. Now, I know some of you are looking at me in this gray beard, and I'm talking about graduating in another century, and you're thinking, okay, seriously, bro is old. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've been doing this a long time. Most of this graduating class was born the same year as LinkedIn. When I was born, a computer was literally an underpaid black woman who worked for NASA and was exceedingly good at math. But one of the greatest gifts I received from this institution was the foundation to become a lifelong learner. So yeah, I may be seasoned, but as a lifelong learner, I still constantly expand my field of vision, moving toward the future with perspective gained from my past. As all of you move forward in creating your tomorrows, allow me to share a bit about the paths that I chose during my yesterdays. Now, this forum demands a certain amount of brevity, so I can't present the entire story here. You know, for the really good stuff, find me later tonight at the Shandy Gaff after a picture of Adios. Okay. I am Pittsburgh born, and I was raised in a blue-collar household with an amazing mom and dad and a pretty remarkable big brother and big sister. My older brother went to Penn State, so I fell in love with this place at a very, very early age. And Penn State defined my image of college. I followed my brother's footsteps to State College, had way too many amazing experiences to detail here. Then I moved to New York City the day after I graduated. The day after I graduated. One day, let that sink in for a minute. One would think that I had had a plan that I was anxious to execute, but that would be wrong. No plan, no connect, no gig. But I believe that Penn State had prepared me for a New York that held nearly infinite possibilities and an incomparable energy. And keep in mind, this wasn't just New York, this was 80s New York. I was surrounded by the artists, dancers, DJs, hustlers, and dreamers who were literally inventing hip-hop, street art, indie film, electronica. Folks who looked at the world sideways and sometimes even upside down and made something beautiful out of it. So I fell into the heart of the downtown art world and emerging hip-hop scene. I had dumb jobs, and I worked for prestigious art institutions. I attended exclusive gallery openings, and I watched b-boy battles in the parks. I found a whole world about which I had been unaware while running the streets with revolutionary innovators like Jean-Michel Basquiat, Fab Five Freddy, and the Beastie Boys. It was a time. I spent a decade in New York working on music videos, commercials, and feature films, culminating in a few seasons on Saturday Night Live as a producer. I put New York in the rear view when entertainment legend Quincy Jones brought me to Los Angeles to become a media executive, and I built a life, career, and family on the left coast. I have bought, sold, produced, developed, and overseen television series for both networks and studios throughout Hollywood. I worked on landmark shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and In Living Color and NCIS. I've had the honor of working with generational talents like Barry Jenkins and Kenya Barris, icons like Norman Lear and Suzanne DePass, and powerhouses like Reginald Hudlin and Penn State's own Don Belisario. I managed to learn a few things along the way that you may want to keep in mind as you begin your journey. As I said earlier, I'm still learning, but over time, I have found these strategies hold true. Be open to possibility. By all means, have a plan, but don't allow yourself to be so inextricably tied to that plan that you don't allow for the possibility of artful improvisation. I moved to New York to make television, but hung a left into the art world. My willingness to embrace the new world around me provided me with a perspective shift that ultimately made me a better producer and storyteller. Second thing, take every opportunity to exceed expectations. This is the one my kids hear and they wince because they've heard it time and time again. Exceed expectations. If it becomes your habit to consistently exceed expectations, you will reap unexpected benefits, begin building a reputation for excellence, and open doors that will remain closed for many. Exceed expectations. And then one more, perhaps the one that took longest to learn. Mentorship is where you find it. Yes, sometimes you will have a formal mentor, someone who willingly and consciously takes you under their wing and shows you the ropes. But in my experience, this is rare. Far more often, mentorship shows up in small moments, not in formally structured associations. It's watching how someone leads a meeting. It's studying how they handle pressure with grace. It's noticing how they celebrate victories, recover from defeats, convey gratitude, and share credit for the wins. Excellence leaves clues. Pay attention. I've gained incomparable mentorship through watching, listening, and absorbing, then applying those observations to my own journey. And that's how I navigate an industry that doesn't come with a blueprint. And that's how, step by step, project by project, relationship by relationship, I built a career that continues to be rich with creativity, collaboration, and impact. Now, let's talk a little bit about you and your moment in history. Class of 2025. Allow me to posit a simple observation. Y'all have been through it, okay? Everybody wearing a cap and gown here today has been through it. And before I go any further, I want to underline something I mentioned before that makes this remarkable day so very resonant. Pretty sure I mentioned I've got two daughters of my own, Gia and Logan King. Gia is writing for television in Los Angeles, and Logan, my youngest, is a member of the class of 2025 at the New School in New York. In part of the unique and mutable bond that Logan and I share is that we spent the entirety of lockdown together. Just the two of us. We cooked a lot, we streamed every movie known to man, we washed our groceries, we cherished blue skies and empty streets. We tried to balance connection and isolation, and we worked together to figure out how to move forward in a world that kept shifting under our feet. But I also got to watch and learn. Those months spent together allowed me to see firsthand the prodigious challenges you face and the grace with which you move through them. I had a front row seat. So class of 25, I see you. And you've lived through a lot. You've seen climate-driven disasters create once-in-a-lifetime catastrophes on an annual basis. You've seen a radically divisive political landscape where truth has been devalued, science demonized, and freedom of expression called into doubt. You've lived with police violence, mass shootings, and a worldwide racial reckoning and its ongoing reverberations. And yet, here you stand. a generation tempered by trials, not defined by them. And while every generation faces challenges, you have to go back pretty far to find one to have faced headwinds like those that you have all faced. You have to go back about 100 years. The last class at 25 had also been through it. Among their earliest memories was the Great Fire of 1910, which torched some 3 million acres across Montana, Idaho, and Washington. They had endured a global conflict that they called the War to End All Wars. Spoiler alert, it did not. And they bore witness to the Red Summer of 1919, a wave of racial terror that exposed deep fractures within American life. And they wrapped up their teens with their own global pandemic. Their COVID, the terribly misnamed Spanish flu, first appeared in early 1918, and over the next 2 years, it infected 25% of the US population and about 500 million people worldwide. It resulted in quarantine mandates, masking regulations, and protests, and claimed the lives of millions across the globe. Sound familiar? Yet history also teaches us that moments of disruption are often prelude to eras of progress. 100 years ago, the class of 25 faced their own crucible, and from that hardship came the Roaring Twenties. The Roaring Twenties was an explosion of creativity and innovation. The Harlem Renaissance, the Jazz Age, women fought for and won the right to vote. Technology revolutionized and expanded the world, from the radio to the automobile, from manufacturing to motion pictures. Innovation and imagination soared, community and culture blossomed. They turned pain into possibility and possibility into progress. And all of you stand on the threshold of such a moment today. And here's the opportunity. You are the most connected generation in the history of the planet. Your ability to access information, benefit from expertise, build community, and touch the world is like no group preceding you. You carry what amounts to a studio in your pocket or your purse, complete with 4K cameras and instant access to any one of a number of global distribution networks. You have a virtually unlimited ability to amplify your voice, your vision, your story. And storytelling, and storytellers shape the world. So I am here today to charge this class of 25 to create the Roaring Twenties 2.0. A Roaring Twenties filled with stories that heal, that challenge, and that inspire. A Roaring Twenties that uses technology to tear down walls and build bridges. A new Roaring Twenties 2.0. Your education has given you the tools. Your experiences have given you the perspective. I'm giving you the mandate. I ask that you imagine boldly and act bravely. And when you do, when you combine the lessons of yesterday, the opportunities of today, and the possibilities of tomorrow, you will shape a future for which the generation to come will thank you. Congratulations, Pennsylvania State University College of the Liberal Arts, class of 25. Your story starts now.
Thank you very much, Brett. And now I welcome Provost Lankilda back to the podium.